The rope cuts into my wrists. I can feel the rough bark of the ancient oak tree pressing against my back, digging into my spine. My hands are bound so tightly behind me that my fingers have gone numb. The cold wind cuts through my thin dress, and I can feel my unborn child moving inside me, restless, perhaps sensing my fear. It is dawn. The sky is that strange color between darkness and light, neither day nor night, as if the world itself cannot decide what I deserve. I am alone, completely alone. The guards left me here hours ago, and since then, there has been nothing but silence. The kind of silence that makes you hear your own heartbeat, your own shallow breathing, your own terrified thoughts echoing in your mind. I am going to die here. I know this. My child is going to die with me, and there is nothing I can do to stop it. The baby kicks. A small flutter against my ribs, and I start to cry. Not loud, wailing sobs, but quiet tears that stream down my face and drip onto my chest. Because how do I explain to this innocent life inside me that I failed? That I could not protect us? That the world is cruel and unjust, and we are paying the price for crimes I did not commit? My name is Princess Laura, and this is the story of how I was tied to a tree while pregnant, left to die, and how something so unexpected happened that it changed the course of my entire life forever. But to understand how I ended up here, bound and abandoned, you must first understand who I was before this moment. You must understand the life I lived, the palace I called home, and the love that led to my destruction. I was born into royalty. My father was King Edmund of Valoria, a small but prosperous kingdom nestled between mountains and sea. Our palace was magnificent. White marble columns that reached toward the heavens, gardens filled with roses and lavender, fountains that sang with the sound of flowing water. I grew up surrounded by luxury, by servants who attended to my every need, by tutors who taught me languages, music, art, and the delicate politics of royal life. But luxury, I learned, is not the same as freedom. From the moment I could understand words, I was taught what it meant to be a princess. I was taught how to walk, slow, graceful steps, never hurried, never casual. I was taught how to speak, soft voice, measured words, always polite, never emotional. I was taught how to smile, pleasant but not too warm, friendly but not intimate, always maintaining the distance that royalty requires. I was taught that my life was not my own, that my body, my future, my choices, all of these belonged to the kingdom, to the crown, to duty. I was a vessel for alliances, a bargaining piece in political negotiations, a symbol of royal bloodline. Nothing more, nothing less. My mother, Queen Isabel, was the one who reinforced these lessons daily. She was a woman carved from ice and duty, beautiful but cold, elegant but distant. I cannot remember her ever embracing me warmly, ever laughing with genuine joy, ever looking at me as a mother looks at her daughter. To her, I was another responsibility, another reflection of the royal image that must be maintained. She would examine me each morning before I left my chambers. My hair, my dress, my posture, my expression. If anything was imperfect, she would correct it with sharp words and disappointed sighs. A princess must be flawless, Laura. The people are watching. The court is watching. One mistake, one moment of weakness, and you bring shame upon this entire family. I learned to be perfect. Or at least, I learned to appear perfect. I learned to hide my emotions behind a carefully constructed mask. I learned to smile when I was sad, to stay silent when I was angry, to bow my head when I disagreed. I became exactly what they wanted me to be, a perfect princess, a perfect decoration in the royal display. But inside, I was drowning. Inside, I felt like I was disappearing, piece by piece, day by day. I would stand in front of my mirror sometimes, late at night when everyone else was asleep, and I would stare at my own reflection and wonder, who am I? Beneath all these layers of duty and expectation and performance, who is the real Laura? I never found the answer, because before I could, I was married. I was 17 when my father announced my engagement. His name was Prince Marcus of Aldoria, a neighboring kingdom with vast lands and even vaster wealth. The marriage was a political alliance designed to strengthen both kingdoms, to create peace where there had been tension, to merge two royal bloodlines into one powerful dynasty. I met Marcus twice before our wedding. Once at a formal dinner where we sat across from each other and made polite conversation while our parents discussed treaties and trade agreements. Once during a brief walk in the palace gardens, chaperoned by a dozen attendants, where we spoke about the weather and the flowers, and absolutely nothing of substance. He seemed kind enough. Handsome, certainly. Tall, with dark hair and sharp features, the kind of face that artists love to paint. He smiled at me politely. He complimented my dress. He said he was looking forward to our union. And I, trained in the art of royal diplomacy, smiled back and said all the appropriate things. But I did not love him, and he did not love me. We were strangers, bound together by duty, expected to build a life, a family, a future on nothing more than political convenience. The wedding was magnificent. Hundreds of guests, nobles from across the realm, foreign dignitaries, religious leaders. My dress was covered in pearls and diamonds, so heavy I could barely walk. The ceremony lasted for hours, and through it all, I felt numb. Like I was watching myself from a distance, seeing this princess in her beautiful gown saying vows to this handsome prince, and none of it felt real. That night, Marcus was gentle with me, patient. He tried to make conversation, tried to ease my nervousness. But there was no passion, no connection, no spark of genuine feeling. We were two people performing our duty. Nothing more. In the months that followed, we settled into a routine. We had breakfast together each morning, discussing the day's schedule and any royal obligations. We attended state functions side by side, the perfect royal couple, smiling and waving to the crowds. We hosted dinners, we received ambassadors, we fulfilled our roles with practiced efficiency. But we did not truly know each other. We shared a palace, but not a life. We were married, but we were not intimate. Not in the way that matters. Not in our hearts, not in our souls. And I was so lonely. Lonelier than I had ever been, even in my childhood. Because now I was supposed to be complete. I had fulfilled my duty, married well, secured my position. I should have been content. But instead, I felt more empty than ever. Until I met Julian. Julian was a musician, not a nobleman, not a royal, just a talented young man hired to play at court functions. He had kind eyes and gentle hands and a smile that made something inside me wake up after years of sleep. It started innocently. He would play his violin at dinners, at balls, at afternoon gatherings in the garden. And I would listen. Really listen. Not just to the music, but to the emotion behind it. There was something in the way he played. Something raw and honest and real that called to the hidden parts of me. One evening, after a particularly long state dinner, I found him alone in the music room, putting away his instrument. I do not know what possessed me to approach him. Perhaps I was tired of being perfect. Perhaps I was desperate for something genuine. Perhaps I simply needed to speak to someone who saw me as a person, not a princess. I asked him about the piece he had played, and he told me. Not with flowery language or formal courtesy, but with genuine passion. He spoke about music the way I wished I could speak about anything, freely, honestly, without restraint. We talked for an hour that night, and then another night, and then another, always briefly, always in stolen moments, always careful not to be noticed. He told me about his life growing up in a small village. about learning music from his grandfather, about dreams he had for composing his own work. And I told him things I had never told anyone, about feeling trapped, about losing myself, about wondering if this was all life would ever be. Julian listened, really listened. He did not judge me, did not lecture me about duty or responsibility. He simply saw me, the real me. And for the first time in my life, I felt truly seen. I fell in love with him, slowly, painfully, inevitably. I knew it was wrong. I knew it was dangerous. I knew that what I was feeling could destroy everything, my marriage, my position, my entire life. But I could not stop it. Love, real love, does not ask for permission. It simply takes root and grows, whether you want it to or not. We were careful, so careful. We never touched beyond accidental brushes of hands. We never spoke of our feelings openly. We maintained every appearance of propriety. But inside, my heart was no longer my husband's. It belonged to a musician with kind eyes who made me feel alive. And then I discovered I was pregnant. At first I felt joy, pure, overwhelming joy. I was going to be a mother. I was going to have a child, someone to love unconditionally, someone who would be mine in a way nothing else ever had been. I imagined holding my baby, singing lullabies, watching them grow, giving them all the warmth and affection I had never received. But then the fear came, because I knew, with absolute certainty, that this child was not Marcus's. We had been intimate only a handful of times in our marriage, and none recently. The timing did not match. And while I had been careful with Julian, while we had never crossed certain boundaries, there had been one night when we had allowed ourselves to forget duty, forget consequences, forget everything except each other. One night when loneliness and longing had overwhelmed caution. One night that had created the life now growing inside me. I was terrified, but I tried to hide it. I announced the pregnancy to Marcus with a trembling smile. He seemed pleased, or at least satisfied that I was fulfilling my duty to provide an heir. The court celebrated. My mother-in-law organized elaborate preparations. Everyone assumed the child was Marcus's, and I said nothing to contradict that assumption. But guilt ate at me. Every day I felt the weight of my deception growing heavier. I would place my hands on my growing belly and feel torn between love for this child and horror at what I had done. I prayed constantly, for forgiveness, for protection, for some way out of the trap I had created. Julian knew. I had told him immediately, and I watched his face transform from joy to terror as he realized what this meant. He wanted to run away together, to leave the kingdom, to start over somewhere no one knew us. But I could not. Running would confirm guilt, would bring shame upon my family, would start a war between kingdoms. We were trapped. And then someone found out. To this day, I do not know who discovered our secret. Perhaps a servant saw us together and grew suspicious. Perhaps someone noticed the way Julian and I looked at each other. Perhaps my mother-in-law, sharp and observant, simply calculated the timing and realized the truth. But rumors began to spread. Whispers in corridors, meaningful glances, conversations that stopped when I entered a room. I could feel the suspicion growing like a disease, infecting everyone around me. Marcus confronted me one evening. His face was cold, his voice flat. "Is it true?" he asked. "Is the child mine?" I wanted to lie. Every instinct screamed at me to deny everything, to protect myself, to salvage what I could. But I looked at him, this man I had never loved but had tried to honor, and I could not add more lies to the pile already built between us. "No," I whispered, "it is not yours." I have never seen rage like what I saw in his eyes that moment. Not loud, not explosive, but cold and absolute. He did not yell. He did not strike me. He simply looked at me with such contempt, such disgust, that I felt my soul shrivel. "You have betrayed me," he said quietly. "You have betrayed this kingdom. You have shamed the crown and dishonored both our families." He turned away from me. "There will be consequences, Laura. Severe consequences." He left, and I collapsed onto the floor, trembling, knowing that my life as I knew it was over. The next days were a nightmare. I was confined to my chambers, guards posted at my door. No one would speak to me except to bring meals which I could barely eat. I could hear voices beyond my door, heated discussions, angry accusations. My fate was being decided, and I had no voice in the matter. Julian was arrested. I learned this from a sympathetic maid who risked punishment to tell me. He was being held in the dungeons, accused of seducing a princess, of treachery against the crown. I begged to see him, to speak on his behalf, but my pleas were ignored. My mother came to see me once. She stood in the doorway of my chamber, looking at me with such cold disappointment that I could barely breathe. "You have destroyed everything," she said. "Everything we built, everything we worked for, everything our family stood for. For what? For a moment of weakness? For a common musician?" I tried to explain. I tried to tell her about loneliness, about emptiness, about the desperate need to feel something real. But she would not listen. She simply shook her head. "You are no daughter of mine," she said, and she left. Those words broke something inside me. Whatever small hope I had, held onto, shattered. I was alone. Completely and utterly alone. Even my unborn child could not comfort me, because I knew that this innocent life was going to suffer for my choices. The royal council convened to decide my punishment. I was not permitted to attend, not allowed to defend myself. The decision was made without my voice, without my testimony, without any consideration for my truth. The sentence was announced by Marcus himself, his face carved from stone. For the crime of adultery, for bringing shame upon the royal family, for betraying the sacred bonds of marriage, Princess Laura is hereby stripped of all titles, all privileges, all protections of the crown. She will be taken to the forest, bound to the oak tree where traitors meet their fate, and left there until she understands the weight of her sins, or until nature claims her. I could not breathe. I could not think. They were going to kill me. Not quickly, not mercifully, but slowly. They were going to tie me to a tree, pregnant and helpless, and leave me to die of exposure, of thirst, of whatever wild animals might find me. "Please," I begged, "please, have mercy, not for me. I accept whatever punishment I deserve. But the child is innocent. Please, let me give birth. Let the child live, and then do with me what you will." But Marcus's face did not change. The child is a product of betrayal. It has no claim to royal blood, no right to life under this crown. "It will share your fate," I screamed. I fell to my knees and screamed until my throat was raw, begging, pleading for mercy that would not come. Guards dragged me away, still screaming, still begging. I saw faces watching me, nobles, servants, people I had known all my life, and none of them moved to help. None of them spoke on my behalf. I had become a monster in their eyes, and monsters do not deserve mercy. They took Julian out before me. I saw him being dragged through the courtyard, his face bruised, his clothes torn. Our eyes met for just a moment, and in that moment, I saw everything. Love, regret, forgiveness, goodbye. They were sending him into exile, I learned later. Banished from the kingdom with nothing but the clothes on his back, forbidden to ever return on pain of death. I wanted to call out to him, to tell him I was sorry, to tell him I loved him, to tell him I did not regret our love even if I regretted the pain it caused. but my voice was gone. And then he was gone, and I never saw him again. They put me in a cart just before dawn. My hands were already bound, thick ropes tied so tightly I could feel my circulation slowing. They covered me with a rough blanket, hiding me from view as we traveled through the kingdom I had once called home. I could hear sounds outside, merchants setting up stalls, children laughing, normal life continuing while mine was ending. The journey to the forest took hours. Every bump in the road sent pain through my swollen body. The baby was restless, moving constantly, as if it knew something terrible was happening. I spoke to it silently, apologizing over and over. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You deserved better than this. You deserved a mother who was wise and careful. You deserved a life." When we finally stopped, they pulled me from the cart. The forest was dense and dark, even though the sun was rising. Ancient trees towered above, their branches creating a canopy that blocked most of the light. The air was cold and damp, smelling of earth and decay. The oak tree they had chosen was massive, its trunk wider than 3 men standing side by side. Its roots twisted across the ground like serpents, and its branches reached toward the sky like grasping fingers. It looked ancient, powerful, and utterly indifferent to human suffering. The guards forced me against the trunk. I did not resist. What was the point? Where could I run, pregnant and weak? How could I fight? They wrapped the rope around the tree and around me, binding me so tightly I could barely breathe. My arms were pulled painfully behind the trunk, my hands crushed against the rough bark. The head guard, a man I had seen at the palace for years, looked at me with something almost like pity. "May God have mercy on your soul, princess," he said quietly. Then he and the others left, their footsteps fading into silence. And I was alone. That was hours ago. The sun has risen higher now, though I can barely see it through the trees. My body aches. My wrists are bleeding where the rope has cut into them. My throat is parched with thirst. The baby has stopped moving as much, and that terrifies me more than anything. Is it sleeping, or is it dying? I have cried until I have no more tears. I have prayed until words have lost meaning. I have screamed for help until my voice gave out. And now I am simply here, waiting for the end. I think about my life, the palace, the lessons, the carefully constructed perfection. I think about all the rules I followed, all the ways I tried to be good, to be worthy, to be what everyone expected. And I wonder if any of it mattered. I wonder if anyone will remember me at all, or if I will simply disappear. Another cautionary tale about the dangers of stepping outside prescribed boundaries. I think about Julian. I hope he is safe. I hope he found somewhere to live, somewhere to play his music, somewhere to be happy. I hope he does not blame himself for this. It was my choice too, my decision, my responsibility. I think about the child, this innocent life that will never draw breath, never feel sunlight, never know love, and that breaks me in ways the rope and the cold and the fear cannot. The light is changing. The sun is reaching its peak. I can feel its warmth filtering through the leaves, touching my face. It is a small kindness in this place of cruelty, and I am grateful for it. And then I see something. Movement at the edge of my vision. At first I think it is an animal, a deer perhaps, or a wolf come to claim me. But as my eyes focus, I realize it is a person. A woman, dressed in simple robes, walking toward me with slow, deliberate steps. My heart begins to race. Is this real? Am I hallucinating from thirst and exhaustion? The woman comes closer, and I can see her face more clearly. She is older, perhaps 60, with silver hair and eyes that seem to hold centuries of wisdom. She kneels in front of me, studying my face with an expression I cannot read. "Princess Laura," she says softly. Her voice is like water over stones. Calm, ancient, soothing. "Who are you?" I manage to whisper, my voice hoarse and broken. "I am called Miriam. I live in these woods, far from the cruelties of kingdoms and courts." She reaches out and gently touches my swollen belly. "And this child lives still. I can feel its heartbeat." Hope surges through me, so powerful it is painful. "Please," I beg. "Please help. Not for me. I accept my fate. But save my child. Please." Miriam's eyes fill with something that might be tears. "Child," she says, "you speak as though you deserve this fate. You speak as though love is a crime worthy of death." "I betrayed my marriage vows," I whisper. "I dishonored my family. I deserve punishment." "Do you?" Miriam asks gently. "Or were you trapped in a life you did not choose, married to a man you did not love, expected to be perfect in an imperfect world? Tell me, princess, when did they ever ask you what you wanted? When did they ever care about your heart, your happiness, your soul?" I cannot answer, because she is right. No one ever asked. No one ever cared. I was a possession, a tool, a symbol, never a person. Miriam begins working on the ropes. Her fingers move with surprising strength and speed, untying knots that the guards secured so tightly. "I was sent here," she says as she works. "I had a dream last night. A vision. I saw you tied to this tree, and I heard a voice tell me to come, to save you and your child. I do not know whose voice it was. God's, perhaps, or the universe itself, or simply the part of my soul that cannot bear to see injustice go unanswered. The ropes fall away. I collapse forward, and Miriam catches me, supporting my weight with surprising strength. My arms scream with pain as blood rushes back into them. My wrists are raw and bleeding, but I am free. "Can you walk?" Miriam asks. I try to stand, but my legs buckle. The hours of being bound have left me weak. Miriam supports me, half carrying me away from that terrible tree, deeper into the forest. We walk for what feels like hours, but is probably less. Everything is a blur of pain and exhaustion. Finally, we reach a small cottage, hidden among the trees, surrounded by a garden of herbs and flowers. It looks like something from a fairy tale, small and cozy, and utterly separate from the world I knew. Miriam helps me inside and lays me on a bed. A real bed, soft and clean. She brings me water, and I drink greedily, feeling life returning to my body. She tends to my wrists, cleaning the wounds with gentle hands and wrapping them in soft cloth. "Rest now," she says. "You are safe here. No one from the kingdom comes to these woods. They fear what they do not understand. And they do not understand the deep forest where women like me live." "Women like you?" I ask. She smiles. "Healers. Wise women. Those who remember the old ways, before kingdoms and crowns decided they had authority over everything, including women's lives and bodies. I want to ask more, but exhaustion crashes over me like a wave. My eyes close, and I fall into the deepest sleep I have had in months. I dream, not nightmares, but strange, beautiful dreams. I dream of my child, grown and healthy, running through fields of flowers. I dream of freedom, of a life without rules and expectations. I dream of music, Julian's violin singing through the air. And when I wake, I feel something I have not felt in so long. Hope. Miriam is there when I open my eyes. "How do you feel?" she asks. "Better," I say. And it is true. My body still aches, but the sharp edge of pain has dulled. "How long have I been asleep?" 2 days, she says. "Your body needed rest, but now you must eat and regain strength. You are carrying a life, and both of you need nourishment. She brings me soup, warm and rich and delicious. As I eat, she tells me about herself. She was once married to a nobleman, but when she could not bear children, he cast her aside. Instead of dying from shame as society expected, she came to these woods. She learned about herbs, about healing, about the power of nature. She has lived here for 30 years, helping others who society has deemed disposable. Women fleeing bad marriages, girls pregnant and abandoned, anyone who needs sanctuary. You are not the first princess to find her way to my door, she says with a knowing smile, though you are the first to arrive tied to a tree. Over the following weeks, I heal. Slowly, gradually, my body recovers from the trauma of that terrible day. Miriam teaches me about herbs and healing. I help in her garden, learning the names of plants and their uses. I chop vegetables for dinner. I sweep floors. I do ordinary, simple tasks that I was never allowed to do in the palace. And I discover something surprising. I am happy. Not perfectly happy. I still grieve for the life I lost, for the love I can never have again. I still worry about what will happen when my child is born. But there is a peace here, in this simple cottage, that I never found in all the grandeur of the palace. My belly grows larger. The child moves constantly now, strong and healthy. Miriam shows me how to prepare for birth, teaches me what to expect, reassures me that everything will be all right. And I believe her. One evening, as we sit by the fire, I ask her the question that has been haunting me. Why did you save me? You risked your own safety to help someone you did not know. Why? Miriam is quiet for a long moment, staring into the flames. Because I know what it is to be judged for things beyond your control. I know what it is to be deemed worthless because you cannot meet society's impossible standards. And I know that if someone had saved me all those years ago, my life would have been different. She looks at me. I saved you because someone should have saved me. And because every life is precious, Laura. Every single life. I start crying. Not tears of sadness, but tears of gratitude, of relief, of overwhelming emotion that I can barely name. Miriam holds me while I cry, and for the first time since my mother rejected me, I feel the comfort of maternal love. My child is born on a clear spring morning. The labor is long and difficult, but Miriam guides me through every moment with steady calm. And when I finally hear that first cry, when I hold my daughter in my arms for the first time, every moment of pain vanishes. She is perfect, tiny and red-faced and utterly perfect. She has dark hair like Julian in my eyes. I name her Hope, because that is what she represents. Hope for a future I thought I had lost. Hope for love despite tragedy. Hope that life continues even when everything falls apart. Miriam helps me in those early weeks of motherhood. She shows me how to nurse, how to soothe a crying baby, how to survive on almost no sleep. And gradually, I learn. I become a mother, not a princess mother with nursemaids and wet nurses and nannies, but a real mother who knows every sound her child makes, every expression, every need. Months pass. Hope grows strong and healthy. She learns to smile, to laugh, to reach for things with her tiny hands. And I learn to let go of my old life. I stop thinking about the palace, about titles and duties. I stop wondering what people are saying about me, whether anyone mourns my loss. That life is gone. This is my life now, and it is enough. But the past, I learned, does not let go so easily. One afternoon, I am in the garden with Hope, letting her feel the texture of flower petals, when I hear voices, male voices, rough and commanding. Miriam appears at the door of the cottage, her face tense. "Go inside," she says quietly. Take Hope. Hide in the back room. Do not make a sound. My blood turns to ice. Who is it? Royal Guards. They are searching the forest. Someone must have told them about me. About women who find sanctuary here. She pushes me toward the door. Go. Now. I grab Hope and run inside. The back room is small, filled with herbs drying and supplies stored. I huddle in the corner, holding my daughter close, covering her mouth gently to keep her from making noise. Through the thin walls, I can hear voices. We are looking for a woman, a guard says. A criminal who escaped justice. Have you seen anyone unusual in these woods? I am alone, Miriam says calmly. I have been alone for many years. No criminals here, just an old woman and her herbs. We will search the cottage. My heart stops. I look around desperately for somewhere to hide, but there is nowhere. The room is small and bare. If they search, they will find us. I hear footsteps entering the cottage, heavy boots on wooden floors, getting closer. Hope begins to fuss, sensing my fear. I rock her gently, desperately, praying she stays quiet. The door to the back room opens. A guard stands there, his eyes scanning the room. They land on me, huddled in the corner with my child. Recognition flashes across his face. Here, he shouts. I found her. Everything happens so quickly. More guards rush in. They grab me, pulling me to my feet. Hope begins to scream. I hold her tighter, refusing to let go even as they try to pull her from my arms. Please, I beg. Please do not take my child. She is innocent. Please. But they do not care about innocence. They pry my daughter from my arms, her screams piercing the air. Miriam fights them, actually fights them physically, clawing at the guard who took Hope. They strike her down, and she falls to the floor. No, I scream. Do not hurt her. She did nothing wrong. They drag me outside. I am fighting them now, wild and desperate. I see Miriam being pulled to her feet, blood on her face. I see Hope being handed to another guard, her tiny face red from crying. And I see something else. A carriage. A royal carriage. And standing beside it, watching everything with cold eyes, is Marcus. He approaches slowly as the guards force me to my knees before him. So, he says quietly, the lost princess returns. Did you think you could hide forever, Laura? Did you think there would be no consequences? Let my daughter go, I say, my voice shaking. Please, Marcus, whatever you want to do to me I accept. But let her go. She is just a baby. She is innocent. Innocent? Marcus's laugh is bitter. She is the product of betrayal. She is proof of your crime. There is no innocence here. She is a child, I scream. A helpless child who did nothing wrong. If you have any humanity left in you, any mercy, any shred of decency. You speak to me of decency? Marcus leans down, his face close to mine. You who betrayed me, humiliated me, made me a mockery in front of the entire kingdom. You have no right to ask for mercy. You have no right to ask for anything. He straightens and gestures to the guards. Take the child to the orphanage. Let her grow up not knowing her shameful origins. And take this woman back to the palace. The council will decide her ultimate fate. No. I lunge forward, trying to reach Hope, but the guards hold me back. Please, Marcus, please, I am begging you. Do not do this. But he has already turned away. He gets into the carriage without looking back. And I watch, helpless and screaming, as another carriage takes my daughter away from me. They bind me again. Not to a tree this time, but with chains on my wrists and ankles. They throw me into a prison cart. As we begin to move, I see Miriam standing in front of her cottage, blood still on her face, tears streaming down. Our eyes meet, and I see in her expression a fierce determination that gives me a small spark of hope. The journey back to the palace is the longest of my life. Every mile takes me further from my daughter. Every moment is agony. I cry until I cannot cry anymore. I rage against the chains until my wrists are bloody. And then I simply exist in a state of numb grief. When we arrive at the palace, they take me to the dungeons. Not the cells for common criminals, but a special chamber deep underground, reserved for traitors to the crown. It is cold and damp and utterly dark when they close the door. I do not know how much time passes. Hours? Days? There is no way to tell in this darkness. They bring me food and water occasionally, but I barely touch it. What is the point? My daughter is gone. My life is over. I might as well be dead. But then something changes. I am lying on the cold stone floor, barely conscious, when I hear a sound. A small sound, like a whisper, but different, almost like music. I lift my head, straining to hear. Yes, it is music. A violin, playing so softly I almost think I am imagining it. The melody is achingly familiar. It is the piece Julian played the first night we spoke, the piece that started everything. Julian? I whisper into the darkness. But there is no answer, just the continuing music. And then I see light. Not harsh torchlight, but soft, golden light that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. The music grows louder. And in the light, I see a figure. But it is not Julian. It is someone else. Someone whose presence fills the cell with warmth and peace and power beyond anything I have ever experienced. His face is both ancient and ageless, familiar and unknown. He is dressed simply, in plain robes, but there is something about him that makes me know. This is divine. "Do not be afraid, Laura," he says. His voice is like the music, gentle, beautiful, filling every corner of the darkness with light. "Who are you?" I whisper. He smiles, and the warmth of that smile heals something broken inside me. "I am the one who has been with you all along. Through every moment of pain, every moment of fear, every moment of loss. I have never left you." "But why?" I cry. "Why did you let all this happen? Why did you let them take my daughter? Why is there so much cruelty and injustice?" The figure kneels beside me, and I realize his eyes are filled with tears. "I do not cause the cruelty of humanity, Laura. I do not create the injustice that exists in hearts darkened by pride and fear and a desire for control. Human beings have free will, and with that freedom comes the capacity for both great love and great evil. Then what is the point?" I sob. "What is the point of faith, of hope, of believing in anything good, if evil can triumph so completely?" He reaches out and takes my hand. His touch is warm, solid, real. "Evil does not triumph, Laura. It may seem to, for a time. It may cause terrible pain and suffering. But it does not have the final word. Love has the final word. Light has the final word. And you, my daughter, are not finished yet." "I have nothing left," I whisper. "They took everything. My title, my home, my child. I am nothing." "You were never your title," he says gently. "You were never defined by royal blood or palace walls. Those things were placed upon you, but they were never you. And now, stripped of everything you thought made you worthy, you can finally see the truth. You have always been worthy. Not because of what you do or who you marry or what position you hold, but simply because you exist. You are my beloved daughter, Laura. You always have been." I begin to cry, not tears of grief this time, but tears of something else. Release, perhaps. Recognition. I feel like I am shedding layers of false identity that I have worn for so long, and underneath, I am discovering who I really am. What about Hope? I ask. My daughter. Is she safe? The figure, I know now that he is divine, perhaps God himself, perhaps an angel sent by God, smiles. Your daughter is safe. The woman Miriam, who you think of as simply a healer, is more than she appears. She has connections, resources, power that she does not display openly. Even now, she is working to retrieve your child, and she will succeed. How do you know? Because I have sent others to help her. Because there are more people who believe in justice and mercy than you realize. Because darkness may be loud and powerful, but light is patient and persistent, and ultimately stronger. And what about me? I ask. What happens to me? He stands, pulling me gently to my feet. You have a choice, Laura. You can remain here. Let them judge you. Let them decide your fate according to their laws and their limited understanding of justice. Or you can walk out of this prison, walk away from this life, and discover the purpose I have had for you all along. Walk out? But the doors are locked. The guards are sleeping, he says with a smile. All of them, throughout the entire dungeon, sleeping a deep and peaceful sleep that they will not wake from for hours yet. The doors are locked only if you believe they are. But if you have faith, if you trust me, then no door can hold you. I stare at him, trying to understand. You want me to escape? I want you to be free, truly free. Not just from this cell, but from every cage that has ever held you. The cage of expectations, of duty, of shame, of believing you are somehow less than what you are. I want you to step into the life I always intended for you. What life? I whisper. Come, he says, extending his hand. And see. I take his hand. It feels solid, warm, completely real. He leads me to the cell door, which stands before us locked and impenetrable. Close your eyes, he says, and believe. I close my eyes. I feel him place his hand on the door, and I hear a sound like a breath, like wind through trees, like music barely audible. When I open my eyes, the door is open. We walk through the dungeon together. Every guard we pass is slumped in sleep, their faces peaceful. No alarm sound. No one stops us. It is as though we are invisible, moving through a world that cannot touch us. We emerge from the dungeon into the cool night air. The palace grounds are silent. Stars shine overhead, more beautiful than I remember seeing them. The divine figure leads me to the gates, which stand open as though waiting for us. Where am I going? I ask. North, he says, to the mountains, where Miriam has gone with your daughter. You will find them in a village called Sanctuary. It is well named. Many who have been rejected by kingdoms and courts find refuge there. You will be safe. You will be able to raise your daughter in peace. And then, I ask, what is my purpose after that? He smiles. You will know when the time comes. But I can tell you this. Your story is not over, Laura. Your suffering has not been meaningless. You will help others who have experienced what you have experienced. You will be a voice for the voiceless, a defender of the defenseless. You will show the world that there is life after betrayal, hope after loss, light after darkness. I feel overwhelmed by the magnitude of what he is saying. I am not strong enough for that. You are stronger than you know, and you will never be alone. I will be with you, always. In every step you take, every choice you make, every moment of doubt and fear, I will be there. You need only call my name. What is your name? I ask. He touches my face gently. I am called by many names, but you may call me Love, because that is what I am, and that is what I offer you. Perfect, unconditional, eternal love. Tears stream down my face. Thank you, I whisper. Thank you for saving me. You are worth saving, he says simply. Now go. Your daughter waits. He steps back, and the light around him grows brighter. I have to shield my eyes. When I can see again, he is gone. But I can still feel his presence, warm and reassuring, like a hand on my shoulder. I begin walking. North, he said, to the mountains. I have no supplies, no money, no map. But somehow I am not afraid. I feel guided, protected, held by something larger than myself. I walk through the night. By dawn, I am far from the palace, far from the kingdom that rejected me. The sun rises, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, and I feel like I am being reborn with it. It takes me 3 days to reach the mountains. I walk during the cooler hours of early morning and evening, rest during the heat of the day. People along the way help me. An old woman gives me bread. A farmer lets me sleep in his barn. A young mother shares water from her well. They do not ask questions. Perhaps they can see something in my face, some mark of divine protection that makes them want to help. On the 3rd day, I reach Sanctuary. It is a small village, tucked into a valley between 2 mountains, surrounded by forests and fed by clear streams. The houses are simple but well made. Gardens flourish. Children play in the streets. It looks like something from a dream. I walk into the village, uncertain where to go, and then I see her. Miriam standing outside a small cottage, her face lighting up when she sees me, and in her arms, clean and healthy and beautiful, is Hope. I run. I actually run. Something I was never allowed to do as a princess. My feet pounding on the ground, my heart racing. Miriam meets me halfway, and suddenly my daughter is in my arms again, warm and solid and real. Hope looks at me and smiles. She knows me. Despite the days apart, she knows her mother, and in that moment, I know that everything I endured was worth it for this chance to hold my child, to be free, to start a new life. Miriam embraces us both, tears streaming down her face. I knew you would come, she says. I knew he would bring you here. He did, I say. He saved me, freed me, sent me to you. Then come, Miriam says. Come inside. This is your home now, for as long as you need it. The cottage is small but comfortable. There is a bed for me and a cradle for Hope. There is a kitchen and a fireplace and windows that look out onto mountains. It is not a palace, but it is mine. Truly mine. And that makes it more valuable than all the royal chambers I ever lived in. In the days and weeks that follow, I settle into my new life. I learn the rhythms of the village, waking with the sun, working in the gardens, cooking simple meals, caring for Hope. I meet the other women who have found sanctuary here. Each has a story of rejection, of survival, of starting over. We become a family of sorts, bound not by blood, but by shared experience and mutual support. Hope grows. She learns to crawl, then to walk, then to run through the meadows surrounding the village. She laughs constantly, a sound that fills our cottage with joy. She has no memory of the trauma of her early days, only the security of being loved unconditionally. And I grow too. Not in status or power, but in understanding, in compassion, in strength. I learn that I do not need a crown to have worth. I do not need a title to have purpose. I simply need to be present, to be kind, to be honest. People begin seeking me out. Women who have been abandoned, who have been accused, who have been rejected. They come to sanctuary asking for help, and I help them. I listen to their stories. I share mine. I show them that survival is possible, that life continues, that joy can be found even after terrible loss. This is my purpose, the one the divine presence spoke of. I am a witness to the truth that suffering is not the end, that mistakes do not define us, that love and mercy are more powerful than judgment and condemnation. Years pass. Hope grows into a beautiful, intelligent, compassionate young woman. She knows her story. I have always been honest with her about her origins. And far from being ashamed, she is proud. Proud of her mother, who chose love over duty. Proud of her father, who loved despite consequences. Proud of her own existence as proof that life finds a way even in the darkest circumstances. Miriam grows older, eventually passing peacefully in her sleep, surrounded by all the women she helped over decades. We bury her in the meadow she loved, under a tree she planted years ago, and I feel grateful beyond words that I knew her, that she saved me, that she showed me what real strength looks like. One day, when Hope is 17, a traveler comes to Sanctuary. He is old now, his dark hair gone silver, his face lined with years. But I recognize him immediately. Julian. He stands at the edge of the village, uncertain, afraid perhaps that he is not welcome. I walk to him slowly, my heart pounding. We stand facing each other, two people who once loved desperately and paid dearly for it. "Laura," he says, his voice rough with emotion. "I heard you were alive. I heard about this place. I had to see if it was true." "It is true," I say. "I am alive. We are alive." "We?" I turn and call for Hope. She comes, curious, beautiful, so much like both of us. Julian's face transforms as he sees her. Understanding dawns, followed by joy so intense he begins to cry. "This is your daughter," I say. "Her name is Hope." Julian falls to his knees. Hope looks at me, uncertain, and I nod encouragement. She approaches him cautiously. He looks up at her with such love, such wonder, such regret for all the years he missed. "I am so sorry," he whispers. "I am so sorry I was not there." Hope, compassionate like her mother, kneels beside him. "You are here now," she says simply. "That is what matters." We do not resume our romance, Julian and I. Too much has passed, too much has changed. But he stays in Sanctuary. He teaches music to the village children. He becomes a grandfather figure to many, a friend to me. And he gets to know his daughter, to love her, to be part of her life. It is not the ending either of us imagined, but it is good. It is enough. As I write this, I am 50 years old. My hair is streaked with silver. My hands are rough from work. My face is lined with years of laughter and tears. I am not a princess anymore, but I am something better. I am myself, fully, completely, unapologetically myself. I think sometimes about that day I was tied to the tree. That moment when I was certain I would die, when I could see no way forward, when everything seemed lost. And I marvel at how wrong I was. How that moment of absolute darkness led to the brightest chapters of my life. I think about the divine presence who freed me, who promised I would never be alone. And I know that promise has been kept. In every difficult moment, in every challenge, I have felt something holding me up, giving me strength, reminding me that I am loved. I think about Marcus and the royal family, about whether they ever regretted their cruelty. I do not know. I never returned to that kingdom, never sought revenge or vindication. My freedom is revenge enough. My happiness is vindication enough. And I think about all the women who have passed through Sanctuary over the years, hundreds of them, each with her own story of suffering and survival. Each one proof that societies and systems and traditions that claim to uphold righteousness while crushing the vulnerable are fundamentally broken. Each one a testament to the fact that true strength lies not in power and position, but in compassion and courage. This is my story. The story of how I was tied to a tree while pregnant, left to die, and how something unexpected happened. That something was grace, unearned, undeserved grace that reached into my darkness and pulled me into light. If you are listening to this and you feel tied to your own tree, trapped by circumstances, bound by mistakes, condemned by others who cannot see your worth, I want you to know this. You are not alone. There is love waiting for you. There is freedom possible for you. There is life beyond this moment of death. Do not give up. Do not believe the voices that tell you are worthless. Do not accept the chains others place upon you. You are valuable. You are loved. You are destined for more than this. My name is Princess Laura. But more than that, I am a mother, a friend, a helper, a survivor. I am a woman who learned that crowns do not make queens. Character does. That titles do not define worth. Actions do. That suffering does not have the final word. Love does. And if I could survive, if I could build a life worth living from the ruins of everything I lost, then so can you. I believe in you. And more importantly, love believes in you. This is my testimony. This is my truth. And I pray it brings hope to every soul who needs it. May you find your own sanctuary. May you meet your own Miriam. May you discover the divine presence that has been with you all along, waiting for you to recognize it. And may you know, with absolute certainty, that you are precious beyond measure.